Hello good people of YouTube, All About Nat is back with another video, and Happy New Year to every single one of my subscribers, followers, supporters, anybody who was positive about the channel and myself and what I'm trying to do. Happy New Year to you. Okay, today we're going to be doing a Q&A, the first one for 2020. And basically I got the questions from Instagram, so if you follow me over there, please do All About Nat _ if you haven't already. I put a post out to get you to ask questions, and I got a great response, so I do apologise if I haven't managed to answer your question, but there is a good chance that it has been answered before on previous Q&A, so please do scroll back through the older ones and you will get some answers there as well. But I will be doing ones in the future, so don't let it deter you. I will be answering your question at some point. So I've picked out about 8 questions. I will shout out everybody who has asked a question and has been read out. But just before we get into that, obviously subscribe if you are new to my channel, and please drop a like on this video and comment down below. What have you been up to over Christmas? Did you have some great time with your family? Just anything like that. And also comment down below anything to do with the questions, if you agree, disagree, whatever. Also, I am doing 2 auctions for 2 different Supreme items on my Instagram. Now, one ends this Saturday, UK time 6 PM. And the second one ends next Wednesday, the 8th, at, is it Wednesday? Yes, I think it's Wednesday, at 6 PM UK time. Now, they are both at steal prices right now. One is the baseball, the Supreme Baseball from 2012 DS. That is ending this weekend. The other is the Sumo hoodie. The advert, the original advert hoodie, that is at a steal price, ridiculously low price, and that is ending next week. So please go and follow me over there for all the instructions. They are on the posts on my page. Reminders will be put on the story as well. So with all that out of the way, let's get into the first question. George Rolstone, I do apologise if I pronounced it wrong. Shout out to you and thank you for your question. This was a crazy question and very hard to answer, honestly. Top 50 shoes of the decade. Great question, impossible to answer because, quite frankly, I can't remember exactly how many shoes and which shoes I bought this year, let alone the past decade, but I will pick some out for you that are still in my collection. Oh, hang on, no I can't, that's the previous decade. But I was going to mention my stash shoes, but that's actually the previous decade. Oh man, honestly, it's very hard to say, but I will say this. As we know, Virgil Abloh has changed the game when it comes to sneakers, and obviously he's come in this new decade, or should I say the past decade. And I would go as far as to say that the 10 were fantastic shoes. Obviously we had the Breads that released, which I didn't get, unfortunately, in 2016. Honestly, I cannot remember anything earlier than 2016. I am sorry that this is a rubbish answer, but I have terrible memory. I'm trying to look in my collection. My collection is very recent or it's very old. So I'm kind of, honestly, my answer's a bit naff. Honestly, I would just have to go with my shoes at the bottom here are all the previous decade, and then it kind of goes in the last 3 to 4 years. So, and I honestly have no recollection or memory much of before that. So I know that's a bit naff, but my memory is that bad, and I would really have to spend hours upon hours trawling the internet, which I really haven't got time for at the moment. But just, I will say this, Virgil Abloh in the past 3 years has changed the game. So I will just say that. On to number 2, UK Supreme for sale. Shout out to you. What made you get into sneakers? Wow, that's a good question. I get asked a lot, what got you into Supreme? But the sneaker question, I don't get asked very much. My early memories, believe it or not, are not Nike. I know, because obviously my collection is solely Nike. But my early memories from sort of when I was at primary school, I would say was Mitre. I had some sick Mitre trainers that were bought in our village at our local sports shop, and I really remember those trainers. Mitre they were white, they were very much like a tennis trainer, but they were super cool. I love those. And that, I suppose that sort of got me. I've always been quite sporty and I've always been a bit of a tomboy, so I was never going to be into shoes, never, from very early on in my life. I'd say from that early age, trainers were at the forefront rather than shoes. So, and then I sort of, I was into football, so I really liked Puma Kings. Those were great. They were my first football boot, the Puma Kings. Loved those. And then obviously as I got older and I got into college, I had my own money, I had a job and whatever. And then I started getting into Nike. So I got seriously into them sort of college to uni. But as you know, obviously as I got more money, student loan, blah blah blah, then I started collecting properly and I just loved it. And that was it. Really never stopped after that. Didn't look back. Loved it. So there we have it. Okay, number 3, Aeropreme. Now, shout out to you, Aeropreme. Great question. How did you learn about sneakers and Supreme? So obviously I've just sort of answered the sneaker part. Supreme, I was into skating from sort of early secondary school, sort of 13, 14, 15. About the time I was playing football as well. To buy skate magazines, right? So I saw an advert for Supreme in a skate magazine. So we still do get American skate magazines over here. And I saw an advert for Supreme and I was dead interested because it was quite different. It wasn't your stereotypical skateboard shop advert. It was just a bit different. And that intrigued me because I've always been quite an artistic person. I've always loved my art and I've always been sort of creative person, and it just stood out to me and I was intrigued by it. So I just sort of kept looking, and obviously back then we didn't get the internet, I think, until, what was it, 99? Was it 99? Something like that. I don't think the internet came until about then. Then obviously I could do a bit of research then, a little bit more. So, you know, you're looking at these adverts and I'm still buying these magazines, and then you could do a bit more research. Now in 2003, I went to New York and I went to Lafayette. And that was it really. Once I saw that advert, I was very intrigued by Supreme as a brand. Then I started buying, you know. Went to New York, and then obviously they got the online store and blah blah blah, and just spiraled from there. I also went to Hideout in London before the Supreme London store came about. Hideout actually sold Supreme items, so that's when I had the baseball bat and just all that kind of thing. So yeah, all from an advert in a nutshell. Supreme, your advertising is A1. It's Lewis, 2006. Shout out to you. Thank you for your question. Favourite ever Jordan? Air Jordan. Not Jordan 1, Air Jordan. I'm going to say the Shadow ones. I say Air Jordan 1 is probably my favourite Jordan. I do like the threes. I really like the black cements. But I'm going to say the shadows. They go with everything. The particular one that I have is so soft. I think it's the 2017, possibly. It's so soft. It's so comfortable. Goes with everything. It's grey and black. Grey and black goes with anything. You can just colour. You can wear all the colour in your pants, or you can wear the colours in your tops. And it's just great. It is really a fantastic shoe that goes with anything. Obviously, I love the Union Air Jordan 1s, but as a sole Jordan, the shadows is the one for me. So next question is from Aidan Murphy. Shout out to you, Aidan. If you could only keep one piece from your current collection, what would it be? Now, if you're talking Supreme, I'm presuming you're talking Supreme because you say piece rather than shoe. It would be my pin collection, and I'm not going to name a pin. I'm just going to say my pin collection, because the pins has always been something that for Supreme that is very special, very overlooked, very underrated, and I have a hell of a lot of them. As you can see, I've started a new display there, but I've got a lot here, and I'm going to say my pins. Thank you very much for that question. So Hillary Grayson, you talked a lot about mental health earlier in your channel. How are you doing? Oh, thank you, Hillary, and shout out to you. Not many people ask me about this, actually, because obviously streetwear and sneakers and trainers has taken over my channel. I did start off my channel in February of 2018. I started with the mental health. I wasn't great at the time, and obviously I wanted to talk about my interests and my passions as along with, so it kind of went parallel, 50-50 with it. And it really helped, actually, because I spoke to an audience who was very much in a similar position to me, passionate about having, your hobbies and your interests and sneakers and clothing, but also having those deeper in-rooted problems. I'm more balanced than I was, but I'll be honest, I still see a counsellor. I see a counsellor regularly. I'm actually seeing him next week. Keep me on a level. Now, the channel helped massively because it was a distraction, and it's obviously turned into a full-time job, and I love it. I love this channel. I love the fact that I've met so many great friends via YouTube and Instagram. It also brings out, it sort of unleashes trolls and stuff, but I will go into that because I do have a question later on. I'll go into that a little bit later. But thank you for asking. Honestly, thank you for asking, because I don't get asked it very much. But I am more on an even keel. I do have these moments because my channel is an outlet to be real. That is obviously my tagline, is keep it real, because I'm always real with you guys. If I'm not feeling great, I will touch on it. If I'm feeling terrible, every now and again I might say it. I have said it in the past on YouTube. Earlier in my channel, I have been honest about mental health, and I do talk about it a lot earlier in my channel, but that was mainly because I was going through a really bad time. I would say YouTube has helped more so than you will ever know, because as I say, it's brought me that distraction, and it's given me an outlet to sort of be honest, and also given me an outlet to talk about my passions. I've always been into streetwear and trainers, as you know, ever since sort of my late teens, early 20s. So, but in the last 20 years, I've had a lot of health problems, not just mental, but physical. So it's been a brilliant distraction, and that is a lot down to you guys and your support. I have way more supportive viewers than I do have haters, so that's great. And I just have to keep myself on an even keel and doing the counselling does that. And keeping busy with YouTube also does that. So thank you for your question. Thank you for asking. And if anybody ever wants to talk about mental health on my channel or in the comments, or if you want to DM me on Instagram, please do, because I've always said that I am open to that, because I think it's important to keep talking if you have suffered or are suffering from mental health issues. So thank you for that. T-A-Y-E-Z, shout out to you. If you were given 100k, what would you do with it, and what shoes would you buy? Oh, great question. Number one, I would pay for the rest of the work to be done on this house. I would send my parents off on holiday. I would give my nieces money to go in their bank account, and I would give my sister some money as well as my two best mates. Once I've sorted my family and my friends out, I would buy what shoes would I buy? I would buy the original staple pigeon Dunks, because that was the shoe that really sort of woke me up, because obviously I got into Dunks in the early 2000s. That shoe sort of went, you know, obviously it was wild, and you know, I never got my hands on it. It was just like one of those shoes that woke me up to Dunks. Obviously I bought my Dunks, sort of the regular Dunks, your GR Dunks, sort of after that. But I was like, wow, those shoes, they were like my dream shoe back then. Not many people got their hands on them, and there was crazy fights, obviously, as you probably know, in New York. So I would buy those, because I would never been able to buy them. They're just crazy expensive, and I sort of wrote them off as something that I would never get. I would probably buy those, and maybe a couple of shoes that I've missed out on recently. But yeah, you know, altogether I'd be so, it would be an amazing feeling to actually help my parents out and my family and friends out. More than anything, honestly, I know it sounds cheesy, but I do love giving back to my friends and my family. Cheesy but true. So if that's a bit boring, I do apologise, but that is my answer. Oh, Oni Matthews. Shout out to you. Do you believe that streetwear will die in 2020? And I don't think so. There's two aspects to this question. It's like when people say Supreme is dead. Supreme is not dead. Supreme is thriving more than ever. When people say it's dead, they're talking about resale. So will streetwear die? This streetwear is not dying anytime soon. As somebody who buys predominantly for myself, and a lot of people do, is it heck? It's not going to die, is it heck? Streetwear resale depends on the brand. Supreme, in terms of resale, of course it's dying because it's becoming more mainstream. There's only two items really that are bankers for reselling, and even that is going to dwindle. I'm telling you now, that is going to dwindle. Is TNF Supreme and the box logo. Those are still resellable, but they will slowly die out. The more stores that open, the more stock they produce. But the brand itself is not going anywhere, guys. And I can say that for a lot of streetwear brands. People, when they talk about something dying, it's to do with resell. It's not to do with the brand and people's interest in the brand. So no is the answer to that. And then the last question, Thomas Hickory, shout out to you. How do you deal with trolls and online abuse? So that goes back to the mental health thing. I didn't deal great with it to begin with. It did affect me. Of course, we're all human at the end of the day. When people say, nah, I don't care, I will guarantee you at least once it has bothered them. I just there is a brilliant filter on YouTube. You can put in words, and if those words are used, it filters them into spam or review. I get a lot of ageist abuse. Oh, you're too old for this, blah blah blah. There's no age on fashion, I can tell you that now. There's no age. If you're into it, you're into it. If you've been into it for years and you still love it, like myself and like many of my other viewers, because my viewers are slightly older, there's no age. There's no age bracket. Just dress in what you want, and if you like it, that is the main thing, because it's you. You're not doing it for anyone else, you're doing it for you. So when I get hate, it just goes in the bin. And that is where it belongs, in the bin. What bothers me more than actual hatred is lies. There has been a few issues in this past year where there's been a little bit of slander, and people have lied about things that I may have said about other YouTubers. I'm an honest person and I keep it completely real with you guys. Just because you disagree with something maybe that somebody else has said or done doesn't mean that I am derogatory about that person. It does not mean that I am dissing them or I'm hating on them or I don't like them. I'm sure they, you know, are not keen on some things I may have shown clothing wise or have said about a brand. Doesn't mean I don't like them as a person. That is bull. So there has been a little bit of slander and there's been a little bit of bollocks that have been spoken. Which that bothers me more because it's not true. So that kind of thing, it gets on my nerves. Thankfully, they know me and they know that I'm not that kind of person. But as I've said, I don't really take much notice of you're an ugly bitch or you're too old or what you're doing. Oh, you know. That kind of thing doesn't bother me, but what does bother me is lies. I don't like that. When people spread lies, that is not my cup of tea. So, but thankfully, as I've just said, I am friends with the above, and, you know, they know me better than any other person who's trying to spread lies about me. So, that is the Q&A. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope it answered your questions as best as I could, and it was satisfactory. Don't forget the auctions. Don't forget tomorrow I do actually have an unboxing for you. I'm hoping to have 2, but I definitely have 1. So stay tuned for that. We've got some fit videos coming up in the up and coming weeks. I do actually have a new date for my operation. Whether that will happen, who knows? But thank you for all your support. Let's hope for a fantastic year. I've got some great videos coming up. As you know, I intend to be going away at some point. So fingers crossed it all happens, and happens sooner rather than later. Thank you once again for all your support. I love every single one of you guys who is positive, sends those positive vibes, and all about that. We'll see you on the next one. Keep it real, guys.